Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit, England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit, England, the governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, has said this is what he warned about because we are just about to be hit with the worst recession ever. And Mark Carney did warn about this before the vote, and then after the vote, Mark Carney he took out a load of measures, right, to make sure that Britain wasn't hit as hard as it actually would have been if he didn't take those measures out. And all of the Brexiters just said, "Oh no, all of that is because of Brexit. It's our Brexit bounce." And there's never been no Brexit bounce. Right, but he took out a load of measures and those measures now, I believe, have finally run out. But there's plenty of people out there still saying, well, he's wrong. He's totally wrong about, I can't remember a couple of people have come out and said, this morning already that he's wrong about what he's saying. Right, this recession is going to last, I believe, about 2 years. Right, so that shit is going to be really going to hit people really, really, really hard. Because obviously, I mean, if you'd listened to Penny Mordaunt the other day, because she was responding to a question from Jeremy Corbyn, and Penny Mordaunt, right, would tell you, oh no, this would have happened under Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, she actually stood there the other day, right, and said, and basically said to Corbyn, well, if you was in power, you would have crashed the economy. And said, well, the irony alone, because these people have crashed. They've crashed the economy worse than I think anybody else could have. Because of them, I don't think people realise yet that the shit that these people have done. Because they've destroyed the city of London. We've had so many bankers that have moved, right? So, and we're talking about like the real money people that have moved to like Luxembourg. Right now in Luxembourg here, Luxembourg properties is probably more expensive than London because we've got so much bankers that have moved there. They've moved to Spain, they've moved to France, and they've moved to the US. So none of that business we can never get none of that business back. Never going to get none of that business back. So what these people have done, they've just completely fractured this country. Just absolutely. And Mark Carney is absolutely correct. Because the recession that we're going to go through now, right, is going to be long, drawn out, and it's going to be exceptionally hard because we haven't even got anyone who has got any ideas of how to get us out of this absolute car crash of a show this country's in, because you'd really need to get so much of that business back. And there's a lot of talk. I mean, in this country, there's a lot of talk of people are very upset, of how the whole Brexit thing is going at the moment. But all of these warnings was put out there by some of the world's leading economists, right? But people thought, oh, you know what? We'll listen to Donald Trump, a failed businessman, a man who's had a casino go bankrupt, and when he's over here saying, well, Corbyn would be so bad, he'd be so bad, right? And he's telling us, oh no, you should leave. Okay? You've not heard of like the United States of America, because they know, right, those 50 states know that they're stronger together. They're all basically individual countries. Texas is bigger than England, right? So that, these things are all, they're all individual countries, but they know that they're stronger together. But Trump can come over here and say, oh no, you'll be better off by yourself, by this little island by yourself, right next to the world's greatest ever trading union. But you'll be better off by yourself. And the world listened to Trump rather than listening to people like Mark Carney, right, who knew exactly what he was talking about. And now, right, he's there saying, well, I told you so. Right, which I'd be all over the place saying, well, I did tell you so. And I'd be saying, well, and this is your own fault, right? If you didn't bring the curse of Brexit upon yourself, right? this wouldn't be happening to you right now. So you know what amazes me, right? It's just the amount of people that are coming out and saying, "Oh, well, he's wrong." And I've heard an advert this morning, yeah, just like, it was, I think it was like, leave means leave, or one of those people, one of those groups, do you know what I mean? And the advert that they was putting out about how, there'll be so much more businesses in this country and it'll be easier for them to deal with the EU. Well, it's not going very well. And there'll be housing, and there'll be loads more housing for young people, and when you heard this advert, I just listened to it and I thought to myself, this is really sad. It's really, really sad, because the list of things that they were saying. I mean, anybody who listened to that would have been, ooh, actually, because I never heard it before Brexit, but I heard it now. And it was put out by one of them, like, those people with their £350 million, right? And when you say to them, "Where's that money?" they said to you, "Oh, that money's already gone into the NHS." It's a real shame, right? But I will say, because the people in this country, right, that I live in, right, are some of the most nasty people that you can find anywhere. I don't know what has turned Britain into this disgusting, racist, xenophobic, bigoted cesspit it has turned into. Right? Once upon a time, the British people was loved all over the world. Well, I say the British people, it's mainly the English. I live in England, right? And I live in a cesspit of racism, right? And it's just unbelievable, right? So much so that all of the Caribbean islands want to get the fuck away from us. Right? The only one I think that we're going to be able to probably hold on to is Australia. Right, I reckon if Canada, and maybe Canada as well, because maybe Canada as well, right? But we're going to lose so much territory, and a lot of that is down to the people of this country, because the people of this country have really shown themselves up, right, to be real scumbag, just a bag of scummy racists. I'm sorry to say. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages to me. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So we're going to start off in America, right? Because remember Donald Trump? I can remember a few years ago. Donald Trump said, "I never settle cases. Never settle. No. Never settle." And after that, he settled loads of cases from since he made that. Something, right? You can fact check Donald Trump, right? And you'll always find whatever it is, right? He's had to go back on it. Whatever it is, he's had to go back on it. I mean, he will never tell you about, all his failed business ventures and the fact that, his dad left him $400 million, right? And the truth is, he's lost all that money, and he's lost, another couple of billion along with that, right? So he will never tell you about that, about those parts. But he likes to tell you about, that he would never take the fifth. He would never take the fifth. He said it's for criminals. He said that's for criminals. It's for gangsters. That's what he said. He said only a guilty person would take the fifth. That's what he said. He said those words himself, right? And just a couple of months ago, he had to take the fifth. Right? In the same way he would never settle no court cases, right? But he had to settle the one with Trump University or whatever. He had to settle that, right, for millions of dollars. Right? And just about 2 days ago, he had to settle another one because his security team did rough up some people who was outside one of his outside Trump Towers. Must have been protesting when he said that all Mexicans are rapists and criminals, right? So they was outside there protesting, and a few of his security people must have went out and boxed up a few of these Mexicans that was out there protesting, or I should say Hispanics that was out there protesting. So so he's had to settle again. And we'll stay with Donald Trump because an ex-Donald Trump aide named Stephen Miller has put out an attack ad, right, which is titled "White Racism," and it's racism against white people. Seriously, these people, you know what? Yeah? You wouldn't believe, right, how far these people are going now. They are going. Seriously, they have taken this shit to another level. You know, I said Kamala Harris, right? Said non-white citizens must get aid money first. Right, probably pandemic. And so non-white citizens must also be given the vaccine first. I said, but I thought all you guys was anti-vaxxers. No, but you know, they said they was going to give it to all the, you know, the blacks and the Asians. We didn't want that. So, seriously, you know, America's going. It's gone down. It's gone down a real rabbit hole, right? You know, when you look at the Republicans putting out these attack ads now, right? And I'm telling you, the shit's getting really serious, right? There's a I think it's a congressman, a Chinese congressman. Well, so he's an Asian congressman in America, right? And obviously, Asians in America will be Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Yeah, so there'll be right. So he's an Asian congressman, and it just so happens, yeah, that in his district, yeah, he's got them to teach the children Mandarin, right? You know, to learn Chinese. Which, let me tell you, right, if your child can learn Mandarin, right, they will go very, very far in life, right? They'll go further, right, than most other children that you know in life, if your children can speak Mandarin, right? Because that puts them in touch with another 1 point something billion people. Straight up. Right? So if your children, you know, if you was lucky enough for someone to say, you know what, yeah, we're going to teach your children, right? But no, oh no, not the right wing. They're like, oh, you want to teach our children to be communists? Seriously, right? These people, what they are, right, is they're brain dead, because they don't even realise, yeah, that, you know, a child who is bilingual, right, will be so much better off, right, than, you know, than a child who could just speak your regular English, or just who just speak one language. A child who's bilingual, they'll just go so much further in life. You know, they'll do very well, and plus it opens up their brain. Imagine them learning like China, they're learning Mandarin. It opens up their brains a lot more. Do you know what I mean? But the right wing are like, oh no, that's communism. So really, just like, you know what? You don't know where to go with these people. Elon Musk has told all his staff from Twitter to stay at home until further notice. Is this motherfucker trying to bankrupt? He must be trying to bankrupt Twitter or something. Like, really quick, like sharpish, right? Because, you know, there's a lot of, I think they've only got about 7,500 staff, but must be worldwide anyway. Right? But, you know, you need all those staff, right, for content, right? Because, you know, there's a lot of content, right, that you have to make sure that you have to make sure that, you know, is removed if it needs to be removed quickly. You know, so, you know, or there are you know, there are things that could happen because, you know, Apple and Google could just say, you know, we're not doing your app no more, because, you know what, you know, Twitter's turned into a cesspit. So, you know, whoever's on there is going to can stay on there, but, you know, we're not going to, right, allow anybody else to download it from our platforms anymore. You know, so then, you know, because obviously if you want to, you know, if you want to download it onto, like, you know, if you want to, you know, because they can control their devices like that. So, you know, so you'd have to, like, you know, if you want to get Twitter or something like that, you'd have to have your phone, especially if you've got Apple, you'd have to have your phone, like, you have to get you have to jailbreak it, right, to be able to get Twitter. That's what would happen if they get banned from, like, you know, from any of those app stores, because obviously the two biggest are Apple and Google, and everybody wants to, you know, everybody needs to have their apps in there, otherwise, you know, everything else is like some obscure business. But so, you know, he needs to really mind, because, you know, if he, you know, because when the staff do go back, and obviously he's going to be cutting a lot of staff as well, so he's going to be giving them double the amount of work. But when they do go back, you know, if he prolongs this for, like, you know, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, Right, there's so much content that straight away these people are going to have to be removing. So it's going to double their workload as it is. But that's just kind of crazy. He's just gone in there. He's just like, that's just savage. He's just gone in there and said to everyone, listen, you know what? All go home. In fact, don't come in tomorrow morning, right? Until you get an email, and either your email is going to be you can come back to work, or it was nice knowing you. And here's a roadmap with your sandwiches. The Republicans attack, right, on the Democrats, right. You had one. They had a picture of a Democrat, right, and they had put on their defund the police on his shirt, and when you looked at the original, right, it didn't say anything about defunding the police on it, right. But that's what the Republic, and they're just putting out these things as lies. They're saying that the Democrats are saying it's okay to have an abortion at 40 weeks, and I haven't heard them say anything of the sort. But this is the type of stuff that they're putting out, and it's just really vicious. But the thing is, right, they can actually do this legally. In the attack ads, you can just legally lie about your opponent. You could just say, well, they're eating the brains of babies, and they're all a bunch of paedophiles. Right? Literally, they can just sell these things in their ads. I mean, that's why you have all these ads with with Marjorie Taylor Greene locking and loading guns and all this type of bullshit. So what they're allowed to get away with is just unbelievable. But it's very, very sad because America has just it's gone into a really, really bad place, terrible place. And we move back to the UK because Tom Tugendhat, could well be banned from driving after being caught using his mobile phone. I'm sure he must have been that because that must have been around the summer. So I wonder if it was before. It might have been when he was going to be trying to be the Prime Minister. Could have been around that sort of time. I say, well, why are you driving anyway? Right, because most of these people, because I'm sure he was a minister, wasn't he? So he would have had a driver allocated to him anyway. I suppose it depends on what ministry he's in, but I'm sure he would have a driver allocated to him. So I said, why was you driving and using your phone? There's no common sense, these people. And squarehead Andrew Bridgen, remember him? The real Brexiter. Right? It seems that he may be suspended from the House of Parliament because what's he been doing? Lobbying. I know they said, well, you might be suspended for 5 days. So, well, really? So that's going to be your punishment. So you're not allowed to lobby, and if you do and you get caught, right, they're going to say, well, you get 5. So we could be talking hundreds of thousands of pounds. So if you was at work and your boss said to you, well, listen, if you was to get caught moving like hundreds of thousands of pounds into your bank account or anything like that, right, what would happen, right, is we'd have you in the office and we'd suspend you for 5 days. Because you walk out of there thinking, And I think that your next call would be like, I'm going over, I'm from my mortgage company, right? And then shortly after that, I'm going down to the Porsche garage, right? Because, seriously, these politicians are allowed to just get away with all sorts of bullshit. Andrew Bridgen, right? He knows he's not allowed to lobby, right? But yet for all, he's still doing it, right? After Owen Patterson, I'm sure that's about a year to the date. After Owen Patterson, right, was the last one who got, But there's, the thing is, right, they're always up to it. They're always up to the lobbying. They've always been doing it. It's something that they all do, especially when it comes to the Tories. More so when it comes to the Tories. There's probably some Labour that do it as well, but more so when it comes to the Tories, that's what they're all on. Right? They do it all the time, and they know they're not allowed to do it. But then, if it's just, you could get suspended for like 5 days. But now it depends, because I don't know what your constituents, because your constituents might say, they might be able to get you recalled or whatever for that, and get you the hell out of there. for 5 days suspension, but I'm not sure. It might have to be longer than that for suspension. But it's not a good look for you to have to go back to your constituents and say, yeah, I've been suspended from there for 5 days. Like you're some type of school child. 2 police officers have been sent to prison for 12 weeks each, right, for exchanging text messages with Wayne Couzens. But the judge says, well, you can stay out pending your appeal. I don't know why they wasn't sent to prison, because most, the thing is, right, when it comes down to it, right, if you ask, right, it's from the working classes, right, they'll be like, well, you're going to prison for 12 weeks, so well, I'm going to appeal. So yeah, well, you can appeal from prison, okay? Appeal from there, right? But these guys are allowed to stay out and appeal. Just goes to show you that they're not taking this shit seriously. They're not taking this shit serious, because these guys here had some of the most horrendous messages on there, and this must have been the worst lot, because when you saw the level of messages what these guys had, right, that they must have let through a lot. There's thoughts and stuff like this. These are just tiddlers, right, compared to these 2 motherfuckers. These are just tiddlers, but still they're still out on the street walking and breathing the same air as us, when they should be in prison. Children as young as 9 years old have been caught selling drugs, while 14-year-olds have been caught running county lines. And say, what the hell? How the hell, right? You don't know where your fucking 9-year-old is. I don't know. I have no clue, right, how someone could get their hands on somebody's 9-year-old, right, for them to be out selling drugs. Right? I have no clue how that happens. Even someone's 14-year-old. Right, running county lines. I don't know how someone could have a 14-year-old who's running county lines and you don't know what they're doing. Right, because let me tell you, right, all the new trainers that you haven't provided and the new tracksuits that you haven't provided, right, all of those things, right, where do you think they were getting the money from? I don't know what the hell is happening in some people's houses, yeah, where you can have a 9-year-old child or a 14-year-old child involved in all these type of things, right? Because when I was that age, right, I had to be in bed at 9 o'clock. Because my dad was quite strict. At 9 o'clock, right, up until I left school, right, I had to be in bed, not at home. Not at home. That's in bed. At 9 o'clock, and you got these kids out running county. Yeah, I have no clue how that shit could happen, because that could not happen in my house. Right, that was time for the belt. Conservative areas are taking the government to court because the government is asking them to put migrants in hotels in their area, and the conservative areas say, "Oh no, you don't. Oh no. We just like to pretend that we like to help people, but when it comes down to it, right, no, we don't want them here. Go somewhere else." Same thing they were saying to back to the Jews in the 1930s. Go elsewhere. It's only because the government, why Jewish people got to come here. Because if it was down to the people of the country, it was like, no, we're full up. Right? You can't come here because we're full up. We know what Hitler doing to you, but you know what? Oh, you got to take your chances with that one. Well, that's what this country's turned back into. The Home Secretary, that would be Corella de Braverman. We are in a financial crisis, right? But this woman thinks, you know what? I'm going to take my ministerial vehicle down to Dover, and then from there, I'm going to jump in a Chinook. A military Chinook, which costs around £3,500 an hour. To float around in that, right? Those things are not cheap to run, right? And it was carrying some cargo, right? Which was our Home Secretary, right? And this woman, right? For some reason, she always looks stupid with shoes on. I don't know. Next time you see her, look at her feet, because she always looks stupid, right? Her shoes, right? But yeah, so 3,500. Imagine, what could you do with 3,500? And don't say you're going to buy 3,500 packs of bloody swizzles, right? Because no, you could go and get yourself a little Fiesta and insurance and probably a full tank of petrol, right? And have enough to take you and the kids for a full McDonald's meal. £3,500, 3,500. She could have got 3/4 of a day in Boris Johnson's fancy resort. she could have got, right, for £3,500 an hour, right? This woman thought, oh, you know what? It's an attack, isn't it? Right? They are attacking us. It's an invasion, right? We're quite lucky she didn't turn up there in an Apache, right? Right? Or a Typhoon, even, right? And she just parachute out of that, right? Just use the chair, parachute out, ejector business. That's what we're lucky that she didn't, right? Because she had to turn up in a Chinook. I don't even know if she had full military regalia on, because she probably would have. Right? It wouldn't surprise me if she had a sidearm to let people know. Listen, you know something? This is an invasion, right? And those people, those blacks and those bloody Asians, right? Bloody people coming over here. Don't want them. No, don't want them coming over here. Right? So £3,500 for a Chinook. I love Chinooks though. I do like them. And if I was probably the Home Secretary, I would have went out on the Chinook too. But I'm the Home Secretary, so I just say, judge me, right? But this seriously, in times, right, of when we're having a financial crisis, how these people can just rub all this shit in our face. It's just like when Liz Truss took her fancy flight over to Australia, and just to show us, you know what, yeah, you people, you can't even heat your homes. Right? You can't even take the kids out on the weekend, right, to the fucking Pizza Hut, because it costs too much money. But us, we can fly around in fucking private jets and Chinooks. A second lot of migrants have been dumped on the streets again. You know what? Let's speak about some Brexit, because these stories are just upsetting. And I'm already over. Already 6 minutes. Look, I don't know if it's Lord Rose, the guy from Asda, innit? But he was on Question Time last night, was off the hook, because people are starting to realise, what a real shit show Brexit really is. And every time you had someone who was coming up and saying, you know something, this is what's happening, and this is all happening because of Brexit. Right? The people say, yeah, that's right, this is exactly what we're talking about. Right. So Lord Rose said, listen, the same people complaining about, the cherries not being picked and the pears and the apples and the grapes not being picked are the same people who voted for Brexit, and now they're complaining when £75 million worth of fruit and vegetable went rotten in our fields over this summer. Rotten. In our fields over this summer. So you know how much different farms that is, because obviously to have to have £1 million worth of crop, on it's not unless you've got a really big farm, that's so there's a lot of different farms, there's a lot of different, imagine that, right? So all that money has been lost by these farmers, right? So what, they're going to go and plant up again next year, right? Now we're having so much people in this country saying, you know what, we want to rejoin, right? Much more than half of this country wants to rejoin. But, say, well, that's pointless, because you know something, the French would never ever vote to have us back in. Never. No way. Right, would the French, no way. Right, these people now, right, a lot of these countries from the EU are just prepared to just leave us out, right? Because all countries like your Bulgaria and your Romania and all these type of countries, where where we used to get cheap labour coming over from, those people won't, those countries won't vote for us to come back in, never. Right, all the countries that have stolen all of our financial services. That would be France. We're talking Italy, Holland, all of these countries, right? Who have Spain, who have taken. You think they're going to vote? You really think that turkeys vote for Christmas? Apart from these turkeys over here, we're the turkeys who vote for Christmas. We're like, that Christmas time seems like a good time of year, and we're going to vote for it. That's who we are. We're those turkeys who said, yes, we want to vote for, because you know what? We want to do personal harm to ourselves. In fact, right, we want to go, right, down to the tattoo shop, and we want to tattoo ourselves. Forget the tattoo artist. We want to do it to ourselves, right there in the forehead. Right? Also, right, want to use one of those bolt guns that they used to kill animals with, right, and bolt it through your fucking knee while you're there. And might as well do the other one. Because that's what Brexit is. It's a bolt through both knees. Never motherfucking walk again. Well, it just seems that, I suppose the people of this country knew exactly what they was voting for when they voted for Brexit. No, you didn't, you bunch of racist motherfuckers. You never knew what you was voting for, right? You was voting because you thought you was going to get a unicorn. You're going to wake up next morning and there's going to be a unicorn underneath your bed. Right? The land of milk and motherfucking honey was going to be at the end of your road. How is the land of milk and honey going now? Brittany ferries have suffered a slump in traffic carried across the English Channel. In fact, they're like businesses down by 35%, and they say that's down to Brexit. That's what they say. I don't know. Don't ask me. Right? But that's what they say. They say it's down to Brexit. Brexit has done this. And our last story. This is like, this is a dark day. Bounty fans call the new celebration tubs the worst idea since Brexit. And I have to agree with them, because that's the one that says no bounty on it, right? But then I've heard this morning, right, they're talking about, oh well, it could be either the bounty or the Milky Way they're taking out. Well, I say take out the Milky Way, take it out, right? Take the Milky Way out, because let me tell you, in my box, my tub of celebrations, yeah, Milky Ways, right, are always some of the last ones in there, right? Now, I can the Milky Way and the Mars, obviously the Milky Way don't have the toffee in it, but right, I could say, well, you know what? If I close my eyes, I can think of Mars is maybe a Milky Way. I'm not gonna miss the Milky Way. But I'm going to miss the motherfucking bounty. I say, well, you know what? Take the Milky Way out, yeah, and put in the dark bounty. Right? With 2 bounties in there. That's what I think they should do. Right? But, just say, I think, right, just keep the bounties in just like the Tory party. Right? Because they're people who could have taken their bounties out. Right, but no, keep the bounties in just like the Tory party. Anyway, guys, look, I've gone 12 minutes over. But this is like the weekend, so I have to wish you all a fantastic weekend. And right, don't go out and burn up too much fireworks, because remember, it is the 5th of November this weekend, probably tomorrow, the 5th of November, and remember whose day that was. Yeah, so let's all go out and burn our guys. Anyway, guys, look, I'm going to bow out of here, my friends. This is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.